session where we keep an entrepreneur on the spotlight for a couple of minutes and pick the brains out and have them tell us a little bit more about their business themselves, what makes them successful, so we can learn from them and get their stories. And Tumi is one of those entrepreneurs that's always willing to share her story. She's one of the first ones we did our GIBS Alumni Business Club article on, and she has volunteered to be again our guinea pig for this YouTube experiment. So welcome very much, Tumi.
Thank you.
It's very nice to have you here. So, Tumi, you did the MBA a couple of years back?
Yes, 2005, 2006.
Yes, the ancestors of the GIBS Alumni Club. But thanks very much for making the time. I know you're a busy person, and we're going to learn a lot from this session, and I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So yes, tell us a little bit more about yourself, your business, a little bit of the background for guys that don't quite know you very well.
Yes. I'm from IGEN, it's pronounced IGEN if people say IG3, and we assemble lithium-ion batteries here in Four Ways, Johannesburg, and we started in 2018. That's when the business was registered, and we moved into the facilities in 2019, in February 2019. If I recall, there was nothing, when you go fetch the keys and there's just walls, there is nothing else.
You were the first ones there.
We were the first ones in the room, and I was with my partner at the time. There were only two of us at the time, and we were looking to get the third one joining us in a matter of months.
You assemble lithium batteries. What is that? Tell us a little bit more for the non-technical person watching, wanting to understand what is that.
Lithium-ion batteries are batteries that are used mostly in solar PV installations. A lot of times people will say, I want solar, but I also want battery. But there's two types of batteries really. There's the old lead acids, and people still use lead acids. And I can go in detail around what the advantages are and disadvantages of using lead acid. But the more robust and the more higher quality variant is a lithium ion.
So this is like the batteries I would keep in my house to keep my house powered in the case of load shedding.
Yes, there's a solution for that.
And we need to talk to you about that.
We need to talk to you about that. If you think about the small battery packs that you have in your handbag, we actually do that at a much bigger scale.
Like my phone battery. You make my phone battery big enough to power my house.
Yes, that's exactly what we do.
That's just what we need.
So we import basic lithium cells from China, and we import the battery management system from Europe. But the rest of the components we actually get from here.
Local.
We are local. So and that's how we are different from a type of battery that you would import from China as a full battery.
Okay.
And there are vast differences in terms of quality and support. And because we are local, we can also do custom development. So if you have a battery requirement,
that's very specific. That's not quite in the market. You can create something that I need for my specific needs. That's really great, Tumi. Tumi, you've managed to, you mentioned 2018, this is 2021 now, and you're growing really fast, even now in the times of COVID. I think there's a secret to all of that growth, and I'm hoping we can pick your brain here today about what has helped power your business and how you've moved from going into an empty room with just walls and making it what it is today, one of the most successful battery businesses in South Africa that is fully black owned.
No, it is. So the co-founders were three, and as black women owned was about 33%.
All right.
Black women owned, and through 2 rounds of funding, is now reduced to about 19%.
Tell us about that. I think that's something we're really interested in finding out, because we've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs in the spotlight, and a lot of the challenges people face is funding their business. And a lot of people have told us how they've gone into bootstrapping their business, or all sorts of, how did you get it right? Maybe you can start by sort of, getting us a little bit into that story of how you went into entrepreneurship and went through 2 rounds of funding already, and you're in your growth phase of your business, and you only started in 2018. I think that is an amazing success story. So what have you gotten right?
And at the beginning, the understanding was always that it's easier to get funding when you have traction, meaning you are able to see how
traction
actually being able to move. So when we moved into that small unit, we were hoping to build the product to make sure that our supply chains were intact, because remember, we are now going to import some components, we're going to use some components locally, work all of that. It took us a whole good few months. I remember we got post-revenue around the end of 2019, and at that point we started looking for funding at the end of 2019. So in a way, you would say that we have bootstrapped this.
Okay, so you did at the beginning start it yourself with your own money, from your own savings, from around 2018 to the end of 2019 before you saw the first money coming through. But once you start getting revenue that is a bit consistent, then it's easier to go out there in the market and say, well, I'm already making money now, I need growth funding.
Yeah, that's exactly that. So unfortunately, when you are small, you have inherently some inefficiencies.
Yes.
And so I think the first mistake that we made, or the first lesson that we could learn from there was there are different kinds of funds that you can actually look for that are suited to your kind of business. So at first, the first type of funding that we approached, I thought maybe DFIs, that.
What are DFIs?
DFIs stand for Development Finance Institutions, and like SFR, etc. I would have thought that they are more development focused. They are not too commercial, and so they would not be looking for commercial returns, and they won't be looking for even co-financing and all of that stuff. And I think we spent a good few months looking for that kind of funding. It was not quite the right funding that we should have looked for, but what worked for us was we came across a partner that would understand exactly where we go. Remember, the other thing about traditional finances is you either need to have an off-taker, where you say, I'm going to produce this many gadgets, and this is the people that I'm going to sell to, and here are the contracts
in place.
Under those circumstances, it's very easy to get funding, but we actually didn't have that. And then they also need to understand the market and understand exactly how they're going to make money, or how you're actually going to grow.
We're talking about now partners, people that would come in like equity funding.
So that's when we do private equity, because they don't look so much at where you've been and where you are. They look at what is possible going forward. They look at whether there are possibilities of growth. So the first round of funding, what it achieved was we were able to get a funder that understood where we wanted to go. That was not going to judge us mostly on where we were, because as I'm trying to explain as well, when you're a small business, the inefficiencies are there. Your bigger businesses can get economies of scale, they can even get better skills and all of that stuff. So we said to them, here is where we are, here are the products that we sell, and here's how we think we're going to do better.
Your first round of equity funding, this was when in 2020?
2020, yeah. So this kind of funding is a lot more patient, but it's also impact financing. They come in and say, let's work together and see how we can take you to that level. And for us,
now this private equity, to interrupt there a little bit, I just want to understand before you move on. The private equity funders, for people that don't understand, or even myself, I would say, are they your venture capitalists, or are they your angel investors, or are they both? Or
a combination of all of them. Mostly they take equity. So, and if they are impact investors, even more, because now they bring in more than just capital. So they are not putting in capital; they are also putting in human capital
and their own skills and knowledge and experience.
And what they do is we work together with them to forward. And for us, that specific time was, look, we are only going to provide this much funding, but what we're going to do is we're going to work with you to crowd in more funding in the new year.
Okay.
So what you're seeing as a second round of funding was really a concept that we've already worked on in the first round of funding. These guys were smart enough to say that, look, we can put in some funding now, but the real value that you're going to add is to crowd more funding
For the second round.
For the second round. And what we learned a lot from there was the minute we had this first private equity partner in the room, conversations began to change. So while we were battling with funders and all on our own, suddenly we have people that are sitting with us in the same room, and the conversations
are different. So they talk to you differently because you're sitting next to somebody who they know, knows and understands the business.
And most importantly, they say, with these guys, that you, then there's something here.
So are you willing to share who is those initial impact funders that you received? Secha, how do you call her?
SE.
Yeah.
CHA.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are the ones that said we will get in, we'll do the initial funding. We had some 2 or 3 milestones that we needed to complete in the short term. We help you with that, but in the new year we will have to crowd more.
And how
changes everything.
How do you find this such a funding? I mean, like, I'm just trying to understand, if I'm an entrepreneur that is out there ready to start my own business somehow, do I go Google? How do I find these people in the first place?
I don't recall how. I think they found us.
Okay.
And in fact, they were not the first venture capital private equity type firm that found us. There's one that also found us. But when they came in, they were saying, but your ticket is too small. We're looking at much bigger. We're looking at 100 million, 50 million and stuff. So we are not quite in the ballpark. So
they found you, like they just called you. You were sitting and you got a phone. You call on your cell phone.
Yeah. It was on LinkedIn, I think.
Okay. All right. LinkedIn. Okay. So get your LinkedIn profiles ready and up, because venture capitalists are fishing on LinkedIn. Now we know, all right? Go to LinkedIn.
They are very active there. I have actually seen quite a lot of them.
Yes.
So really the big lesson, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs could learn from this, that if you're looking for funding, maybe the investment is on the kind of funder. Rather than look for funding, look for a partner.
A partner.
That will then help you on this journey.
Look for a partner, not funding. And then, so after that first round of funding, tell us a little bit about the second round of funding. I think that's made waves in the news, and that's like all over. So tell us a little bit more about that and about how that came about.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, as soon as we were done with the first round of funding, we went on to the key milestone. The big milestone was to look for investors that are also going to provide more funding. In some cases, we went back to the same funders and said, look, we would like you to really look at this. And because I was there the first time, I was there the second time, I could see how the room, the landscape changed completely. And so the odd thing is we actually had an additional funder that was also looking. So at that point, we now have more options than before. So we go through, but because they also provide additional capacity, they were able to do a lot of the running around. So remember, we have to look at assumptions and check some of these assumptions and all of that stuff, and we were able to work as a team. So basically, the first partner that we had and us, we were working as a team, working with the second funder to the start of this. So it went very, very quickly. But the other feedback that we got from the second funder was that it made a huge difference that you already had such a capability there. The second funder is edge growth.
So edge growth, okay.
So they are saying this process was made so much better by the fact that there is this other funder who was actually there, because they're looking for much the same things. they are, and the conversations are much the same.
All right. And tell us, if you're willing to share, how much did you raise in your second round of funding?
20 million.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's going to take you quite a distance with your business. I mean, do you see what kind of growth are you going to get from that?
Yeah. Look, what we're going to do with the funding, the big thing is working capital. As I was explaining earlier, you know, there's the cycle that we go through from the time when we order base materials from China to when we actually get them here is actually quite long.
Yeah.
And so if you don't order large enough material, you actually run out. So issues around cost of stockouts, and etc. But also issues around efficiency in the economies. So we are now able to order bigger quantities
and save money from economies of scale.
Yeah, even shipping, even the fact that there is a difference between when you buy 5 widgets from a supplier and when you buy 50 widgets.
Yes, exactly.
Even in the supply chain, so much of that money is going into that, but much of that money is also going into completing a major problem of ours where we are increasing localization. So the battery management system we are fully importing. But what we're trying to do is to make the BMS locally produced. So we want to
local
mostly to empower but also for skills. So is to get more skills in the country, but to also manufacture locally. But what that means is we have even more flexibility in terms of customization, because remember, the battery management system is like a circuit board. Is that piece of material that says to the battery, you are full, you are charged, there's an overcurrent issue, you know, you are
it's a control mechanism.
It's a control mechanism for the battery. So that mechanism, if we can design ourselves, it means every project where we customize, it's all within our space, it's our own IP. At the moment, you have to first check, and maybe you have to sit in line at the other end, because you are coming in for a change in the BMS, somebody else is also doing the same.
Okay.
So
that's amazing. You know, to me, this is, I think, a very, inspiring story, for a business that has made it successful. And I think it's a very short space of time, because you hear so many stories of how entrepreneurs are out of business in 2 years. What, 91% of businesses fail within the first 2 years or more than that. So it's really inspiring to see somebody that is making it that is successful. We really wish you all the best, and for you and your partners, and that you will continue to grow, right? One last closing word, right? If you could speak to your older self in 2018 with all the knowledge you've acquired up to today, and you only had 20 seconds to give them the most important piece of advice, one sentence, what would you say?
I would say start early and commit the mistakes, but as long as you learn from them quicker. So the earlier you start, the better.
Start early.
Yeah.
Start early. That's a good one. Start early. I think, as an entrepreneur myself, it's probably one of the things I would have also advised myself. If I spoke to a 20-year-old self, I would be like, start now.
Yeah. Because in 15 years, and you can fail 5-10 times.
Yes.
But it's actually in that process
that you're learning. Nobody gets it right the first time. The whole point is to fall so that you can learn from the falling. It's like when you throw somebody into a swimming pool, they're going to hit the water first, maybe drown a little bit, but the more they hit the water, the more they learn. If I hit this way, I move that way. If I do like this, I float better. Yeah. So the sooner you start, the better you will learn, but it will be a process. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Tumi, for your time, and appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sure.